Now my MT09 now officially has over 20,000 miles on it. And in that time, and it's a little over 5 years it took me to get the mileage on it, I have formed a few opinions about things that I love about the bike, things I like about the bike, things I modified and changed about the bike. And it's been a really, really sweet 20,000 miles and 5 years. I've enjoyed every minute of it, to be honest about it. And I know my friends, they just get bored to tears having me go over how much I like the bike. But if you don't want to miss a true review of the bike, this is my honest opinion of how I've enjoyed my MT09. So let's start with some of the things I really didn't care for when I got the bike. I didn't care for the styling, I didn't care for the appearance, but I knew I'd be able to change that relatively easily. I didn't care most of all for the flat black parts. There was a giant amount of a bike that came from the factory with flat black parts. I don't like flat black parts at all. But I knew this was something that was going to be relatively easy and to change, and over the course of about 2 years, and I did it methodically. I did it, every one of the steps I did is on the channel, and I started with trying to get the smallest of the flat black parts blue, and I've said this over and over again, every time I added a blue part or subtracted a flat black part, I liked the bike better. Now, I'd always ask Karen, what do you think? What do you think? Now, little things like the screening in the tail section. And I tried to do this methodically. I did it one step at a time. I wanted that screen to match the screen in the front. I didn't want to see the screws. I made a lot of little carbon fiber parts. And I wanted to have, when I was all done with this, I wanted it to all look like Yamaha might have made this model and might have made it right from the factory, and it might have been a limited edition. And several people have asked me, did it come this way? No, it didn't. Now, I knew it was going to be worth doing all the styling cues that I wanted to do, the paintwork, making the carbon fiber parts. I knew that was all going to be worthwhile for one reason, is I knew when I sat on the bike the first time at Motorcycle Mall, and I sat on several bikes that day, and again, I've narrowed it down to this and the retro Kawasaki, and when I sat on the retro Kawasaki, it felt heavy. This bike felt light. This bike, it seemed like the bars were in exactly the right position. The foot pegs were exactly right. And the other bikes that I sat on, I was thinking I'm going to be moving this and changing this and everything. So what I did, and I was very confident about doing it. I knew I could do it. I just took a chance that I was going to fall in love with the engine of the bike. I had never ridden, up to that point, a triple Yamaha. But I had all the people I knew that had one, loved it, and went on, and now I've joined that group of rambling on and on about how much I like that engine. Now, that engine is what makes this whole bike worthwhile to me. And you can buy the more expensive model, the SP, that has a lot of upgrades, but even this is the cheap one. And this one was under $9,000 by a couple of $100. So I thought once I get done with the cosmetic parts of it, I'm really going to fall in love with it. And I did. And that's the truth. And John Pothia helped me with a lot of parts of it. including getting the color of the wheels right, getting the logos right. And we did so many concept sketches of, I originally was going to make the bike have gold wheels. I changed my mind. Then I mixed up several colors of silver. I painted some spare wheels I had. But it was a long time coming. But even that little windshield, the little fly screen, and getting the trim on that to match the trim on the tank, every little step of it, I really thought it out before I did it. Because again, I had this picture in my mind of what I wanted. I wanted to go to a bike meetup, and I just did this a couple of weeks ago at a Bikes and Breakfast, and parked right next to a totally stock one. And I wanted to look at it and say, did the modifications that I made float my boat? Maybe they float your boat, maybe they don't. And I got some carbon fiber parts, the fender and the hugger from Vlad, among other things. And of course, one of the major parts of this that I think is one of the most important parts of all my bikes, that Valentine radar detector. And then there's some of the things that they were surprisingly good to me, I guess. They, in the beginning, I didn't expect to get 50 miles to the gallon. And when I bought the bike, gas was pretty high. It's come down a little bit, but it's still not 50 cents a gallon, that's for sure. And that was a nice surprise. It made me like the bike a lot more. I really liked the fact that the bike has all of these headlights in the front. It's got 6 separate lights plus the blinkers. So when, especially if you're out in a dark, shady area, or if you ride at night, at least people can see you coming. That's a safety thing to me that I think is real important. And I painted all those parts gloss black or blue. The carbon fiber fender that I got from Vlad, and that was made in Europe, I think. And that was a real work of art. Now, I've made carbon fiber parts for the bike, so I know that was beautiful right when I opened the box. That was really nice. And by the way, for anybody that doesn't know, taking the fender off and changing it if you get a carbon fiber fender is a little trickier than you think it might be. And trust me, it's worth looking at the video. I showed a couple of tricks or tips I used to swap the front fender. The scoops, I didn't like those screws in the scoops. I did a lot of work to get rid of them. Again, all out on the channel. I made these little carbon fiber inserts for all the parts that the covering up bolts and covering up blank areas. And the hugger, the carbon fiber hugger in the back, that was from Vlad. Again, thank you so much. That was really, really a nice accessory. And every part of this bike, part by part by part, it just made me like it. And as years went by, I fell in love with it. And I've saved some of the best things for last. I have, of course, over 5 years plus and 20,000 miles, absolutely fallen in love with the bike. And I Anybody that's ever asked me, I've always told them, and I tell them honestly, to me it feels like, and the reason I love it, it feels a lot lighter than it is. It has the feel of, if you know what an RD400 is, with 3 engines. I've made a video about that already. And it has that great low-end power, the low-end torque that Yamaha is so famous for. And a beautiful power band. 50 miles to the gallon is a bonus. Now, for me, the cherry on the sundae was I spent a giant amount of time cleaning up and painting the wheels. Not just spray painting them, bringing them down to where all the spokes are flat and the paint is buffed out. I mixed up some very special paint for this bike, 4:1 urethane with my own pigment in it. And I thought at the time, maybe it's not going to really float my boat. I don't know. John Pothier helped me with concept sketches. When I was all done and put it out in the sun for the first time, I couldn't believe how lucky I was that I did the concept sketches. And the fact that it's very similar to my R1, they're kind of like the twins in the garage. The wheels, the final cherry on the sundae, and that absolutely one of the things I love about the bike at the end of this whole project is how the bike looks when you go somewhere. Now, whenever I get back home and I clean the bugs off the bike, whatever, I always think, when you buy a bike, a lot of times, and I have bought bikes, kept them 6 months, a year, 2 years, got rid of them, got bored with them, got sick of them. And then there's bikes I've kept. My GS 1100, I've got it 43 years. And my RD, I have about 13 years. I have a feeling, and it's a gut feeling, I will have this bike right to the end. And this bike, again, I know people get sick of hearing me say it, and I know people have thanked me for turning them on to the MT09 as a choice. If you like a bike that feels lighter than it is, gets 50 miles to the gallon, is comfortable, and believe me, that seat is comfortable, for me anyway, and you want to do a couple of choice little mods and make it your own, and like I do, polish up the exhaust, make it just a little bit different than everybody else's. And that exhaust is one of the selling features of the bike, because you can get through these populated areas without getting a net thrown over you. And 20,000 miles, if you've decided after 20,000 miles you love the bike, it's probably a good time to marry it. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.